Picture this: an army, machine guns, a trained military commander, sent to fight birds, not hawks, not vultures, giant flightless birds that can outrun a car. And somehow, against every expectation, the birds came out on top. It sounds like a joke. It isn't. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you will understand exactly how one of the strangest military campaigns in history unfolded, and why, nearly 100 years later, people still can't stop talking about it. If stories this strange but completely true are your thing, hit subscribe, because that's exactly what this channel is built on. This is the story of the Great Emu War. To understand how this all started, we need to rewind to the early 1930s. World War I had ended over a decade earlier, but its aftershocks were still being felt across the world, and Australia was no exception. Thousands of veterans came home looking for a fresh start. The government's answer was a resettlement program. Give returning soldiers plots of land in Western Australia and turn them into wheat farmers. On paper, it sounded like a win for everyone. Veterans got a livelihood, the nation got more grain. In practice, much of the land handed out was poorly suited for farming in the first place. Then the Great Depression hit. Wheat prices crashed. Farmers who were already stretched thin watched their income disappear almost overnight. And just when things couldn't get worse, something else showed up. Something with feathers. Every year, once breeding season ended, huge numbers of emus moved inland, searching for food and water. In 1932, that migration turned into something else entirely. Somewhere around 20,000 emus poured into the wheat belt of Western Australia. These aren't small birds. Emus can stand close to 6 feet tall, and when they run, they can hit speeds near 50 kilometers an hour, roughly 30 miles per hour. That's faster than most humans could ever dream of sprinting. As the emus moved through, they didn't just eat crops, they flattened them. They tore through fences like they weren't even there. And those broken fences opened the door for a second invader: rabbits, which flooded in through the gaps and did even more damage to what little was left. Farmers who were already barely surviving the Depression now watched their fields get destroyed by wildlife they had no way of stopping. So they did what desperate people do. They asked their government for help. Here's where the story takes its strangest turn. Instead of sending naturalists or wildlife officers, Australia's government approved a military response. Major G.P.W. Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery was handed command of the operation. His unit arrived armed with 2 Lewis machine guns and a serious stockpile of ammunition. The plan seemed almost too simple. Find the emus, open fire, problem solved. Officials expected the whole thing to wrap up in a matter of days. Nobody involved had any idea just how badly they'd underestimated their opponent. The troops soon spotted a large group of emus and got into position. Guns loaded, sights aligned, order given, fire. And that's when everything unraveled. The emus didn't clump together and panic like the soldiers expected. They scattered, fast and in every direction at once. Some vanished into thick brush. Others sprinted across the uneven ground faster than anyone could track them. The Lewis gun was built for conventional combat, not for chasing down hundreds of birds bolting unpredictably across open farmland. Only a handful of emus went down before the rest were gone. The soldiers stood there, stunned. What was supposed to be an easy job had just turned into a genuine problem. Not ready to give up, the military tried something new, bolting a machine gun onto the back of a truck so they could chase the emus down while firing. It sounded clever on paper. It was a disaster in the field. The terrain was rough and uneven, and the truck bounced so violently the gunner could barely keep his aim steady. Worse, the vehicle simply couldn't match the emus' speed. Some accounts describe the whole scene as almost slapstick, a truck jolting wildly across the fields while the birds casually pulled ahead without much effort at all. To make matters even harder, the emus instinctively broke off into smaller groups, which made them far tougher to target than one large flock would have been. Once again, the mission came up empty. Major Meredith would later reflect on just how tough the birds proved to be. Historians debate exactly which quotes attributed to him are word-for-word accurate, but the records agree on one thing. This was not the lopsided victory anyone had predicted. The emus were fast, they changed direction on a dime, and they refused to behave like a single, predictable target. Attempt after attempt, the military simply couldn't kill enough of them to actually protect the farms. Eventually, the operation was called off. The soldiers packed up and headed home. The emus stayed right where they were. To be fair, this was never an official war in the legal sense. It was a military-backed pest control operation that spiraled into something much stranger. Over time, ongoing culling efforts did reduce emu numbers, but the initial military campaign failed at the one thing it set out to do: solve the farmers' problem quickly. That gap between expectation and reality is exactly why history remembers it under a much catchier name: the Great Emu War. In the years that followed, Australia leaned into more practical solutions instead, like reinforced fencing and bounty systems. Those approaches ended up working far better than machine guns ever did. Almost a century on, the Great Emu War still stands as one of the most bizarre true stories in military history. It's a reminder that firepower and planning don't always win the day. Sometimes nature holds cards that no one accounts for. A well-armed military unit walked in expecting a quick, clean victory. Instead, they ran into speed, chaos, and terrain that worked against them at every turn. Today, the story lives on in Australian folklore, usually told with a laugh, as one of the most unusual military failures on record. The Great Emu War is proof that real history can be stranger than anything you'd invent. A trained military armed with machine guns expected an easy win. What they got instead was an opponent that was faster, smarter on its feet, and almost impossible to pin down. Nearly 100 years later, people are still talking about it. So tell me, in the comments below, who do you think actually won the Great Emu War? The army or the emus? If you enjoyed this one, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next strange but true story from history. Because sometimes, the truth really is stranger than fiction. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.